Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 60. Ooh, it feels good to be back. I've been on the road, as you know, for over 10 days in Germany, and I want to thank the crew here for holding down the fort. We have the whole crew here today. We've got Mr. Sass at the end there, Manny, Damon, and of course Robert making it happen behind the scenes. Thank you guys for your flexibility last week. I was working all week to bring you that surprise, and hopefully you thought it was worth it.
Oh, all I had to do was, we had this whole thing planned that Manny planned for the episode. And then, Boris is there. And I'm like, well, I can just sit back and, kind of enjoy the show this time.
Yeah, and my trip back was almost a catastrophe because everything was going very well. But Friday, I was planning to leave early from Stuttgart. And I found out Thursday that Stuttgart was going to be going on strike the morning that I was leaving. So thankfully, there are a number of airports and things are pretty close to each other in Europe, and we thanks to Ilko, he jumped on the idea of getting a flight out of Munich.
Yeah,
and I made all my connections. And actually, it was a better flight because you can go directly from Munich to Atlanta versus Stuttgart, Amsterdam, Atlanta, and then my final leg would have been to BWI. So it all worked out, but it was a little stressful because honestly, unless you're out there like calling and getting people's attention, they just rebooked you for like 2 days later and just assumed it's okay for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost kind of like it is here. I mean, you've got the choice of BWI, Dulles, or Philly in a pinch. So
yeah,
it's kind of the
pretty
same
lucky.
thing.
We're pretty lucky.
As long as it's not international. If it's international, BWI is not a
no.
Jamaica.
International
It'll go to
hub.
Jamaica.
That's about it. That's about it.
So we've got a lot to cover because I disrupted the agenda, so to speak, last week, and then we have stuff that we've had over the week. So hopefully, those of you that haven't listened to the most recent podcast, episode 59, we were so lucky to have Boris Appenbrink on the show with us, and thank you to the folks at Classic as well as to Mr. Fabig for allowing us to be at the Classic Center to host my side of the podcast. And Boris stuck around for it was actually pretty late, around 6:30, 7 o'clock over there. But I did find out how it actually worked out for him to stay late because Manny, you'll relate to this, is he's actually taking guitar lessons. Did you know he was a guitarist?
Is he going to be the entertainment for?
Well, that's what I said. I said, so next time you come.
What, does Manny play guitar?
Manny plays the guitar.
Really?
He does.
I used to play in a band.
Oh, yeah.
I had no clue. I would
He's
never,
a rocker.
never guess.
You didn't know that?
So,
No.
Boris?
I think maybe we'll have him play the guitar at open house for everyone to listen to.
Yeah.
You guys all know. And
You
this
can
is,
put together like a Scorpions tribute band or
so you
can
know,
maybe I can't think of any other German.
do you all know that I played violin from first grade until senior year in high school?
What?
So I'm actually pretty good at violin.
And do you have a violin?
I do. I have my violin. I played in an orchestra for like 10 years or something.
So it's a violin, not a fiddle.
It's a violin. I don't know how to fiddle. Fiddling it's a technique more than, and it's very different. Yeah. So
That's impressive.
classical musician.
Okay,
That is
you need to bring it in next week, and at the start of the podcast next week, we're going to
play something.
Play
like
a little.
Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, right?
And by the way, guitar collecting is like one of those things where it makes our hobby look cheap
Oh yeah.
because that is you talk to guitar collectors, almost like Porsche collectors. No one just has one.
Yeah.
They have a ton of them, and it's you can go down a rabbit hole of guitar collecting.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's even better than collecting motorcycles because they take up even less space.
Less space.
Yeah.
And are they like? What's the price range of a guitar? I have no idea.
Oh, tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands of dollars?
Yeah,
Ooh.
depending on if you get like an original Fender or Gibson, and how custom you want to be, and that's.
Yeah, I unfortunately have no musical talents. My parents tried to put me in front of a piano with a piano teacher, and I think I lasted one session. I said, I'm out. I can put together a car stereo, home stereo, but I cannot play an
Yeah,
instrument.
can listen to music.
I'm very good at listening to music. Anyways, just like a quick recap of my few days, 10 days with Ilko over in Germany. And you guys can stop me if you want more details. But the main reason why we were there, as Rob knows, Rob introduced us to Techno Classica, a trade show, vintage, not all Porsche, all cars, including Porsche, trade show in Essen, Germany. And it's a pretty amazing event. It's car sales, new manufacturers, car manufacturers, swap meet, kind of all rolled into in a big convention center. And there's
by the way, I want to point out if you put it under glass, you can charge 5 times more than if it was not under glass.
I remember that.
Because it looks more expensive. You look at it and go, wow, it's got to be something special. They got it under
Oh,
glass.
you mean the stuff? Yeah.
You can't touch it. It's
I'm looking at because at the Carlisle swap meet, that stuff's just sitting on a table.
Oh, yeah.
Out in the open. But if you put it inside indoors and under glass,
As I said, last swap meet, I was standing there. Is that a roller bearing crank? Sure, yeah, you want to pick it up? I didn't realize I was holding a crankshaft that probably cost more than my car.
Yeah. But most of the stuff is not. I do remember my friend Dave Kinney, we were at a swap meet in I think we were actually at Techno Classica walking through the swap meet area. And he was kind of comparing it to Hershey, and Dave's profound statement was, their worthless crap is a lot more interesting than our worthless crap. It's pretty profound.
I call it the Central Penn swap meet. When it was at Hershey, Tom Pervasi came. This would have been 2005, I think. And we're walking past the table, and there's this really dirty mechanical fuel injection, high butterfly mechanical RSR fuel injection. And he stops because he has it on his 914. He goes, wow, I wonder what this is worth. And he asked the guy, and I think the guy said, back then it was $15,000.
$15,000?
Didn't even blink.
Whoa.
$15,000.
Wow.
And it looked like he literally took it off a car that it had been on for 30 years. No cleaning of the part. Just sitting by itself on an 8-foot table with the guy sitting in the chair behind it. And didn't blink, and I thought, "Wow!"
Did Tom blink?
Tom was very happy that his
because he had
bought it beforehand.
Yeah, going for $15,000. But I was like, what time does the ATM have $15,000 in cash you can pull out?
Wow.
Yeah, back then it wasn't like you could just Venmo the guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. So I wonder sometimes if parts have gone up as rapidly as cars have. And I think the answer is probably yes.
There's and because it's so easy to look up values of things now.
Yeah.
It's hard to come across a bargain. Like there were no in terms of like the parts and stuff at Techno. There was nothing that was a bargain. You know how I collect 1/18th scale cars and stuff, and of course I go through the toy section, and one of the cars that I don't have is one of the 10 toys with Distlers, they're called.
Yeah,
Distlers. And there was like this one guy that had just like a mountain full of junk, and then he had this Distler in that mound of junk, and it wasn't like in a glass case. It was like, it wasn't like trashed or anything.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, maybe this is my opportunity to get a Distler for cheap, because I think they normally run like $1,000 if they're in pretty good shape. Yeah, I asked him. I'm thinking, man, if this is like 200, I'm on it.
He doesn't know what he has.
Yeah. Well, maybe he just doesn't care, right? Like, I mean, if he threw it in a mountain of, junk, maybe he doesn't care. Yeah, I asked him. He's like, yeah, $650. I'm like, what? $650, and you just have it laying there, and it's gonna get scratched. But there weren't many discounts. In fact, the cars that were for sale displayed at Techno Classica, it floored me at how, and I mentioned this to Nathan, is this normal, at how unprepared these cars were. Like cars for sale with like not been detailed, swirl marks everywhere, brake dust on the wheels, and they're asking top money for these cars, and they're just not even cleaned. It was weird.
Yeah. I mean, well, you would think too that sort of the German reputation for being fastidious, that the cars would be better prepared than that. But yeah, I've noticed the same thing over the years at Techno Classica. People just drive them in from every corner of Europe and throw up for sale.
Is that a culture thing or is our cars too over prepared?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I think people buy with the intent of using them in Europe, which is very cool, and they don't look to hide the imperfections of the car, and they just figured the next person will take care of it, and they just displayed the cars as is. But seeing, of course, everyone here, we see Porsches all the time, so it's kind of hard to kind of wow us, so to speak. But seeing cars that we didn't have in the United States at Techno Classica, base model hubcap 190Es in a manual, or just cars we've never had over here. Was it Cosworth cars? And
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Well, you were with me a couple of years ago, I think. Maybe it was Nathan, but somebody brought a W124 Mercedes wagon with a manual and houndstooth seats.
Oh man!
And it wasn't. It was like 10,000 euros or something. It wasn't super expensive, and I just wanted that car in the worst way. And same thing you said. It had like the plastic hubcaps that you see on every Mercedes cab in Frankfurt or whatever. I just loved the car.
The coolest vehicle we saw did not look like at a Porsche at all. And if you haven't seen the little overview that I shot with Nathan on Techno Classica, you'll see what looks to be a Eurovan. And it's a cool looking Eurovan, but the more we dug into that car, we're like, that is actually a vehicle that you could join the club with, because it was built by Porsche. It's VINed as a Porsche #1. It's Porsche powered, Porsche drivetrain. The story was Porsche built those for some of their execs to be shuttled around and such, and it was so cool. It was so weird that out of all the cars in this show, this Eurovan really took top honors.
Oh,
I love the name too, B-32. It sounds almost like a military machine, ready to come crush you or something.
Were those like 9-inch Fuchs in there or something?
It had Fuchs on it. It had turbo brakes. It was very
911 suspension. I don't think 911 chassis, but it's nice to see the little torsion bar holes.
Oh yeah.
Just like a 911.
There's the VIN. If those of you that are watching YouTube, it's a
What's
a
that
Porsche
going on in the
VIN.
footwell?
Yeah.
I mean that was their transport. It was for the early 911 dealership or restoration shop. They had a slew of cars that would, man, if seeing one RS doesn't drop your jaws, seeing 4 or 5 of them in one place.
The hell the RS. I mean, I'm still looking at the B-32.
I know, right?
Well,
There were like
sick.
at least 10 RSs there, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
you wouldn't think that those were rare because there were so many there.
Yeah.
But look at the undercarriage of this thing. I mean, it was put together. Amazing.
Oh, with the turbo valve covers too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, we
I love it.
Just to speed along, we did 2 days at Techno Classica, ran into members, and as well as I was surprised how many fans we have. People talking about the podcast, YouTube, and Panorama. People definitely see. I was wearing a PCA pin, I think, on my jacket, and a lot of people came up and said hello to us, and some even were like card carrying members. They were pretty proud of it. They pulled it out of their wallet and stuff.
Do you have a stack of window decals to give away?
I didn't. I mean, I had some, but I didn't.
We should do that next year.
I didn't bring.
Send Jim back there again.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, it's not back to normal of the last time we were there. COVID definitely hurt them, and I think the way they're trying to price things, and maybe manufacturers are really taking a close look at the values of these kind of shows. Some of the larger manufacturers, including Porsche and Porsche Classic, didn't go back to Techno Classic. So there's literally a hall that was sort of kind of spread with cars, and they tried to fill all the nooks and crannies to make it look like it was full. It wasn't back to normal. It was still an amazing show, but it's not what it used to be. And I wonder if it's going to ever be like it used to be.
Retromobile in Paris in early February was uncomfortably crowded.
Yeah,
I mean,
but that's also a much smaller space.
It is. That's true. It's a much smaller space.
So
but
it's easier to make a small house look full. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about maybe checking out Retro Classics in Stuttgart in February, which is building a pretty good reputation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So after 2.5 days there, we went to Spa and caught up with some folks at Porsche AG and Porsche Track Experience, and that was my first time at Spa. And if you haven't seen some of the Instagram footage that Bogdan has put up there, if you're wondering where a lot of the GT cars are, it's in this program. And they had 40 GT4 RSs and 120 car total. I mean, all GT cars.
By the time you listen to this, there'll probably be a video out that profiles a bunch of the cars you can drive, and I think you'll see in the background they already have like at least 4 992 GT3 RSs there.
At least
that I saw.
There was at least a dozen.
Really?
Well, yeah,
Oh,
at least
man.
a dozen. And
They got those allocations.
The good news is they're gonna use it for the program, but eventually they'll go into private hands. So
And you might think, oh, I wouldn't want one of those cars, but you have to also remember they're probably cared for better than any other RS out there.
you know who takes care of them?
Who?
Monty.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Monty's the
Oh, really?
contractor to take care of them. So
Yeah, 'cause I guess
I would buy a Monty car any day of the week.
True.
They definitely know what they're doing. So from Spa, we then went to KW Suspension, and if you've been following Project 964, that's the suspension that we put on it, and we were invited to go through their facility, and I had no idea how huge KW Suspension is, and we met the owner. I think he started in 1992 with a $25,000 loan, and he's built it into this amazing empire. And we have we shot a lot, everywhere we went, we tried to shoot long form videos for Damon to cut, as well as capture Instagram worthy stuff. So you'll see all the machinery and the tooling behind the scenes. If you enjoyed the LN video that we did a couple of months ago, you'll definitely enjoy a lot of the videos that we took on this trip, because it was all behind the scenes, and they've never really invited anyone to come into their house and really be able to film everything. And they just rolled the red carpet out for PCA, and it was pretty cool. From there, we went to Recaro, another name that many of you know, and got the facility tour there, got the background history of video coming on that. Liquid Moly invited us to the facility, their world headquarters, where they actually produce all the additives, and we went on the line. I couldn't help it. This dates me, and you two to the right probably can relate to this, but you probably won't, Damon. And you remember that scene from, because Liquid Moly are all these little bottles, right? So it's like a bottling plant. And the only what if you think of a bottling plant walking through and seeing workers, what's the scene that brings to your mind?
Like Laverne and Shirley.
You're right. See, you're right.
Yeah. Say it again.
I couldn't help it. So
Say it again. What is it? I didn't catch that.
Laverne and Shirley.
It doesn't matter.
Right now, Robert's desperately looking for YouTube for the opening shot of Laverne and Shirley.
So the beginning
Damon's
of
like,
Laverne and Shirley, they worked at a beer
what the
bottling
F is
plant.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
I
this
don't know.
plant, these bottles are running through, and I could hear the theme song of Laverne and Shirley, and I had to use all my strength to not mention that in the video that we were recording. Anyways, again, they were very cool. We made our way over to Tech Art, and they introduced us to the new GT Street R Flyweight, which is their basically dedicated race version of the GT Street R. If you thought the one that we covered at SEMA was wild, this thing is insane. And one of the people that work at Tech Art, he also drives, I think, LMP3, and he took me out for a ride, and whoa, that thing was ridiculous. It was making
Start
noises.
with the Turbo S, right?
Yeah,
So,
they
all you need to
start
know.
with the Turbo S. Yeah, exactly. And this was I think the 800 or 900 horsepower kit. It wasn't their top level kit, but
Gosh.
it felt crazy. And then from there, we went over to Porsche Classic, and this was a sort of a proud little moment for me and our relationship with Classic, because we not only got a tour of the additions to the new facility they have. They sort of built out a more extravagant customer delivery area that they can deliver the cars that they restore at their facility, as opposed to taking it maybe to Stuttgart to deliver. And it was beautifully done. It's not completely done, but what I got to see was beautiful. Those are, if you're watching on YouTube, we have the wall art that they did, the display of different parts they work on.
Blueprints, it looks like, right?
Unfortunately, and I can understand it, for the privacy of their customers, I couldn't take any photos or video of their workshop. But their workshop was, man, like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. I think I can say there were 4 Carrera GTs in there. There were RS.
Yeah, I think Boris in our last podcast, I
Yeah.
think mentioned that. Yeah.
The very first car coming out of that facility is a 928 that was being delivered the next day after our podcast, and that was the very first car to be delivered there, and it was being delivered to the gentleman that actually owns the 73T that we restored.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
What was the story with the 928? It was like an early car? Or?
Oh yeah, early car.
Like, please tell me it had Porsche.
Oh, you know what? It was covered. I saw it on my last trip.
It had Porsche.
I'm sure it had
Yeah.
Porsche. But you know what it did have that was very interesting to me that they were kind of proud about? They said, look at the front. What do you think of the protective covering on it? And I'm thinking, that's interesting. I thought they were talking about like the paint protection film, right? And so I'm looking, and of course, you know, to look for paint protection film, you look at the edges and see how that they're folded over. And there weren't any folds. I'm like, well, I don't see, like, how is this protected? Apparently some company has developed some sort of spray paint protection. It's not a film, but it goes on like clear coat, lays down like clear coat, but it's not permanent. So there's
peel it off.
There is some sort of other, I think, spray or chemical that you can put on, and then you can peel it off.
Interesting.
Easier than peeling off actual old yellowed paint protection film.
I think that's probably the selling point.
Right.
Have you guys heard of this? I've
No,
never heard of
never.
this, so I don't know if it's going to make it stateside, but could be a game changer. I mean, you could tell the color of the front end of the car was like I don't want to say a shade off because that's probably even too much, but you could, like, if someone told you and you looked and looked and looked, yeah, you can kind of tell. But if no one told you, you probably wouldn't even know that there's some sort of protective coating on it, which is pretty cool. So yeah, and we also met up with Sebastian Merkel, Porsche Club Coordination, the head of Porsche Club Coordination, and he just kind of gave us a heads up on all the things that they're preparing for the 75th anniversary. So they're going to be hosting a number of people in Stuttgart and Hockenheim. I think June 8th is a celebration there. Some of our members, I think, got invitations and or signed up for that event, because some of it is by invitation, some of it you can sign up. Unfortunately, most of us won't be there because we'll be at Atlanta preparing for the Classic Club Coupe auction. So yeah, I mean, that's in a quick nutshell the Stuttgart trip, and you'll see lots of content come out over the next couple of months as Damon and Bob goes through all the stuff that I downloaded to them. But the last time I saw you, Rob, we were at the PEC opening and the West Track expansion and the Classic Center. But more importantly, you got a ride in a very special car.
Yeah,
and I'm jealous.
It should be, although my neck is still under chiropractic care. It's the GT4 E-Performance. Yeah, it was incredible on the new West Track. I didn't get to drive it. It was a right seat. 3 or 4 hot laps, but I mean, it's incredible. I mean, the grip, the acceleration. I mean, it is just otherworldly. But the most fun part of the whole experience was the tutorial on how to get in and out of the car properly.
Why was it caged or?
Well, it's caged, but that's not the thing.
It's
the
because
thing
you
is,
have to not ground yourself or
exactly,
whatever. Okay.
Exactly. Because it's 900 volts. It's a 900 volt battery, and there is a slight chance that you can have those 900 volts pass through your body.
Jump into the cockpit. Or?
Right. No. Right. So what they tell you to do is, get your rear end on the cage, put your hands on the roof of the car, kind of pivot around, get your feet on the sills, and then jump like as quickly as you can.
What?
With both feet off the car. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's
right.
They made every journalist who was there practice.
Why don't we have this on film?
I don't know. I was reasonably graceful. I can't say that about everybody. But
I've got a feeling Porsche probably wouldn't want that on film.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And the other thing that was great was, there's a giant red warning light in the center of the dash, and the works driver who's doing the hot lap said, it's highly unlikely, it's like a water landing on an airplane, but in the unlikely event that this starts flashing, just get out of the car any way that you can, as quickly as you can, and run as fast as you can.
So did they look at you and point at you and they said, "I need a verbal yes before we proceed"?
They did. Yeah, absolutely. So,
Before people say, "Oh, this is why electric cars are bad," That's the same story they would give you if it was a gas-powered car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
If you
but-
see fire,
Run.
get out.
right, exactly. But
And any race car driver knows they tell you, if the car is on fire, get out. If it's not on fire, stay in the car until the corner workers come to you.
Yeah.
But if it's on fire, get out.
Yeah, I know. One of the other journalists was talking about it and saying, yeah, it's 900 volts, but it's not the volts that kill you; it's the amperage. Like 900 freaking volts is a lot of volts.
So
it's like saying, Phoenix is 130 today, but it's a dry heat. It's like
So here's the thing. I'm sure sitting in it felt fast, but you know how if you've been to a track or you've been to PEC or whatever, and you watch cars go around, like they don't seem that fast. Like and maybe they're making noise when they're turning and stuff like that. But I watched that car go around the track, and I felt like if I had a remote control in my hand, like I was controlling it. Like it was like ridiculously fast. Like it looked fast, and to look fast on a track, I can only imagine how fast it felt to be inside the thing.
really fast.
And how did you not hurl?
It was only 3 laps. If it had been 4 laps,
Yeah.
I make no guarantees about not hurling. But, I mean, it was really, absolutely incredible. And, we didn't have, a hands device on, but I kind of had. 'Cause, I mean, it's violent.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, just absolutely incredible. And when you're outside of it, the sound is actually...
It's very mechanical, like geary sound.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you hear the gears.
It's not unpleasant. It's kind of interesting to listen to.
And it's not George Jetson, right? Like
No.
people always say, "Oh, electric cars sound like
No,
golf
no,
cars."
no, it's not
This
the
thing this thing sounded very mechanical. I don't know because
Yeah.
it had straight cut gears or anything like that in the transmission or whatever it had, but it sounded pretty wicked.
Yeah,
it's just
it really-
different.
Yeah, it's different, but it was certainly not comical or unpleasant to listen to. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
and they said what was the power on that thing, and
1,080 in qualifying mode or
and
something
it
like that.
it can charge in 15 minutes like 80%.
Yeah, it's like 1,088 PS. So I mean that's fairly.
And it's
close
made to run 25 laps or something like that.
something like
Not
that.
at 1,000. That's qualifying.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
qualifying.
that's qualifying,
Yeah,
okay.
it's I think normal is like 700.
half an hour at the race output, which is 600 or 700 or
600 or 700 PS, something
All
like
right,
that.
so-
I mean, it is as Rolls-Royce used to say, adequate.
As long as it
Yeah.
takes a cup car to drain a gas tank.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that is their rolling laboratory for what they're going to do for the street car. So imagine that car dialed back 50%, and now you're down to 350 horsepower with 350 foot-pounds of torque in a street car that's more comfortable. I think that's going to be a fun car to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they should, it should be mandatory for electric car phobes and
So-
haters to take a hot lap in that thing.
So that car is rear-wheel driven or all-wheel driven?
All, I'm pretty sure.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means
It's gotta be
future.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, future Boxster Cayman will also be all.
Well, not necessarily.
That's my question.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if that's the lab, right?
Yeah,
Like,
GT4 E-Performance definitely is all-wheel drive because the Mission R
Yeah.
is. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
yeah,
The here's what I think, and this is speculation, but base 718 Cayman, one rear motor,
yeah.
maybe the GTS or a GT4 E-Performance road car if they did something like that, 2 motors,
Yeah.
front and rear.
So let me ask you
don't know.
guys: would you prefer all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive if you were to get one in an electric car in the future?
I don't know. I've never driven a rear-wheel drive electric car, and I've only had 2 minutes inside a Taycan, so
Yeah.
I couldn't say.
Manny?
I don't think it really matters because they put so many electronic driving aids on it that you're not going to really.
You don't think you're not gonna be able to have fun with a
you'll-
rear-wheel drive
you'll have
car?
fun, but you're not going to. It's not going to be like a Carrera or SC or early car without the driving aids.
I don't know if you can turn them off, just, sort of.
won't
They're
be
never
They're
never
never
gonna
gonna
do
be
that.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, there's legal issues with that one.
Right.
If you want to beat
Career
a Model
GT on
3
slicks.
Performance, then you'll want all-wheel drive.
Yeah, you want all
that'll
electric,
be
right?
the. Yeah, if you don't want to be shown up by a Tesla sedan, then
Yeah. So speaking of Cayman, I hear there's been some progress on your
yeah,
Cayman.
there has. So last time we left off here, and the front main seal, or the crankshaft pulley seal, had been just kind of hanging there, halfway torn up. I had been trying multiple different things to try and get it out of the car. The reason I decided to remove and replace it was because when I did the harmonically balanced underdrive pulley, because I have a lightweight flywheel, I noticed that my old seal looked like it was weeping a little bit of oil. So I figured, how hard could it be? You know, I've replaced seals tons of times
Famous last
before.
words. Famous last words.
Exactly. So it was actually really, really tough to replace. However, had I only listened, or well, first asked earlier, but had listened to the first advice that was given to me at the Easton warehouse and training facility, I would have figured out that I needed a flex head piece for my drill with the right angle drill. So flex head and right angle. And I was able to drill using a self-tapping screw, a tiny little hole where I put in two
Into the seal.
screws into the seal.
Okay.
And then I brought the little tool, and I also have some pictures as well that maybe Robert could put up. But basically, it's a crankshaft pulley seal, or it's a pulley seal puller. But instead of having these screws, which you see here, and you twist this and it pushes on the crankshaft and pulls the seal out, there was these two little thin pieces of metal that were supposed to go into the edge of the seal and pull out, and they bend like immediately. And so I drilled those two holes, put these screws in, and used the tool in a different way and cut off the end here and drilled a hole because there's so little room to put this tool, and it took a lot of force just to pull the seal out.
But luckily,
I was cranking it.
those screws held on to the seal.
They held
didn't
on.
pop off.
One of them almost didn't, but the other was in there really well. So I was able to, when this one started to come out, I pulled on the side that was okay, and it just popped out.
Really?
So what you'll see if you're looking on YouTube, right here that you're seeing is the new seal put in. So I put it in at exactly the right. I had the seal pusher or installation tool.
Yeah.
You need that. That's standard kit that you get for any sort of car.
Okay.
And that'll work. But yeah, I was worried about drilling into this seal because, a little bit of metal could, fall into the engine.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, I don't think it fell into the engine. You can see little bits of metal in some of the pictures if you're watching on YouTube that are still sort of inside of the seal. But I figure if any tiny little piece did fall in, it'll probably go through the filter, and I should be all good, crossing fingers. So far, so good.
Yeah.
No check engine light.
I saw the car parked out front, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, exactly. So if anyone's thinking of doing the crank pulley seal, it's a tough job, but also don't mess around with anything. Just get your flex head with the right angle, drill head, and a self-tapping screw, and do it that way. You're going to save yourself a lot of time.
So it took you however many months
to
because
figure it out.
You weren't sure how exactly to approach it. But now
I got frustrated, walked away, and left it.
But now, if you were to go back and do it in someone else's car, it'd be like
it would take, once you have the engine cover off, this would probably take 2 hours, if that.
Because you have the confidence, because you know exactly.
It took me an hour by the time I started drilling with a self-tapping screw. By the time I got the seal out.
So was there any danger drilling into that seal that you might drill into something else?
There's nothing behind it that you can easily drill into. These long screws, even if I had put them all the way in, I don't think would have quite touched it. I wouldn't do that,
Right.
Put as little screw in as you can.
Right.
But, if you just get the end of a self-tapping screw and it barely goes in and the threads don't even start, just stop there, pull the screw out, and then,
then use that.
Screw these things in, nice and easily, not too far, and you can start using a tool. So,
well, congrats.
It's done.
Congrats, and it sure feels good to drive the car again.
Yeah, it feels great. I love it, and now I know for sure I'm driving to Parade and Palm Springs this year.
Okay, and is that why I see there's a roof rack on your car?
Roof
now?
rack,
which is an interesting story in and of itself.
Yeah, it
given
came with
the
the car.
rarity of that item.
Yeah, it came with the car, and I didn't realize they were so rare, but I was kind of wondering how much they would cost if I wanted to buy one. And the 996 version is like $810 on Pelican. It'll fit apparently, but it doesn't fit exactly right.
Yeah.
You cannot buy new, and the 987 version is very rare. So
How bad is the wind noise with it?
about 20 miles an hour it starts.
Yeah.
And then it gets a little better at like 30, 40, but then by 50, 60 and up, there's this constant, there's a weird frequency that you can hear through the radio as well. So it'll be a little bit annoying, but it's not too bad.
It's not like you're gonna leave it on there, right? For a long period of time.
But yeah, I'll put a root basket on there and, probably a spare wheel and a toolbox and the oil because I need to do an oil change before I come back out.
Oh,
to
right,
Maryland.
right.
So...
All right, Manny, we've got, hopefully, I don't know, the weather forecast is very typical for Carlisle at this time of year, but we're preparing for a little show.
What show?
The swap meet, isn't that this
Oh,
weekend?
yeah, I guess that'd be a show. It'll be raining.
It's always,
Is it going to be raining?
It's always raining for this show.
Oh, man, I don't know if I'm going to go this time then.
You got to go because you said you're going to help me film something.
All right.
It'll still be fun. We'll go early.
Bring a lot of plastic to cover your
Yeah, we
camera.
got to bring some plastic to cover the
it
clip.
is
But
gonna be-
honestly, I think filming in the rain is probably the truest representation of that event.
Yeah.
It's actually it's the first time it's rained in
Many years. I've never
many,
been
many
when
Oh,
it rains.
really?
because you never go.
I know, because I'm always on. I wrote to Steve. I said, finally, I'm here and I can go this weekend. I'm not on travel. So
I've gone like 5 times in the past 9 or 10 years, and it's, I think, maybe sprinkled once. I've been
Oh,
lucky.
really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
This weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
29.
gonna stay and go?
I don't have my kids this weekend.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
There you go. Rob can film.
selfishly, so here, Manny. Since I haven't gone in a while, do you think because of the rain that
You're to blame, yes.
that you have better odds of getting good deals because
No.
there's not as much competition?
No, because what's going to happen, like people like me are going to rethink about even bringing stuff.
Oh.
So I know. I mean, you may.
Yeah.
But like.
You're not going to have a roller bearing crank sitting out in the rain, I'm
just
guessing.
Take my stainless Targa bar that's sitting over there.
I mean,
It's art.
yeah. No, Bob Gutjahr is even thinking about bagging it.
Really?
Interesting.
Oh man. That
Oh,
stinks.
well, we'll see.
Oh, okay. Yeah, how much stuff did you have? You have a Suburban worth of stuff that you were planning to bring?
I started filling it up. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to go back in the attic, but I won't pull it up if it's raining.
Yeah, because you don't want that stuff. I remember, I think it was Bob's stuff or someone's stuff. I remember they pulled it out for display, and it was like moldy because the last time they went, it was raining, and then they put it in their box
just
and
never let
sealed
it air out.
and it never aired out. And when they opened it, they're like, "Oh no, I ruined all my stuff."
Discount.
Discount. Yeah. All right. So I heard that someone prepared a game for Rob. Is that something we're gonna do right now?
Yeah. So we were talking. Rob and I
It's
were.
news to me.
Oh, you don't know about this?
Well, we tried to get his Tinder profile, but he wouldn't let us look at it. So instead, we looked at his Bring a Trailer profile.
Well, this is a lot more salacious, I can guarantee you.
And so we wanted to go through about which cars he regretted selling and which ones he didn't.
So
Every one of
I'm
them-
going to say
every one
that
of
first one, 99 Carrera 4, that was a nice one.
Oh,
if I had that one, I would probably keep it.
That was the height of stupidity for me selling that. I mean,
And just
that
its
was,
specs
there's
Okay,
no
well,
other word
all right.
for it.
We have to describe the car for listeners because they may not be seeing
you.
the
Very
screen.
true.
So what the first car up is your early 99996 C4
Yeah.
in Guards Red, which is a pretty
Guards
rare
over the factory aero kit.
Yeah.
Lowered
Just
apex
honestly,
wheels.
Just line up and kick me in the backside. Just the three of you. I mean, there's nothing else
That
to
was a-
say
those
about
wheels
this.
in the Aero Kit
That just
has a great stance
that's a
to it.
Right.
good looking
Yeah,
car.
I know. It
So what
was great.
what
it
did
looked
you
like a,
what
like
did
a
you
.1
buy
GT3.
that you had to have that you got rid of
a
this?
TVR.
No. I bought a 997.2.
Oh,
Which was
cab.
also a
Cabriolet?
great
Yeah.
one.
The Cabriolet.
Oh, the
The
cab?
silver cab, which was just
You
stupid.
just
Well-
dropped a couple of pegs when people see this on
Yeah,
YouTube.
I know,
Your
I know.
cred has just.
I know it was.
Well,
means
no.
nothing.
To his credit, he was thinking about his kids, and I remember you saying,
Right.
your kids love riding in a drop top.
Yes.
And so, because
And
you had
they-
gotten rid of your Dakar yellow E36 M3,
which they never forgave me for.
right? And so you sold
So
this
I took
beautiful
one-
996 for a. Not to be disrespectful, sort of a ho-hum gray cab,
Silver
or
and
silver
black
996.
cab,
I mean, it
yeah.
was a nice car, but it was kind of just
It was,
your average
yeah,
car.
it was. You know what? What really turned me off on that car is I went to a Cars and Coffee and I saw like 4 identical
Yeah,
cars.
exactly.
You can
I'm
park
like,
him back.
I'm out of
You can
this.
park him back.
Yeah,
All right,
I know.
So you majorly. So the next one up would be a 92 968 6-speed coupe. What color is that?
Black.
It was black.
That car.
But did you regret selling that one?
Not a ton. It was a really good car. Had a nice history. If that thing had been like Riviera blue or Speed yellow, it would have been a keeper. But black, just, honestly, I think, Manny, this is your quote, owning a black car is an occupation. It just is. It never, you could do all the paint correction that you wanted, and 3 months later, all the swirl marks are back.
I would love to be there when someone is justifying to themselves about buying a black car.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want black, but the price is really
Exactly.
good. So
Why are you guys looking at me?
They're not that hard to take care of. I mean, I won't take it for car
That's
washes.
complete BS. Honestly, it was less a car than a swirl mark display system. I mean, it just
that if I remember correctly, like that you came upon that car at a very good deal, and someone that took care of it very well.
No, it was a really
that's-
well cared for car with a great history,
it was a
great
good
records.
example,
It was a very, very nice car. Relatively low miles. I think it only had like 75,000 miles on it. It was a 6-speed, obviously. It's what you want in a 968, a 6-speed coupe. But
I don't want a black car, and I own 3 of them.
Yeah.
but sometimes it's like the price is right, the conditions
the
are
black
right.
car was. It is the last black car I'll ever own. The black car was the giant buzzkill.
Okay, bets on that. Bets on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
No, it is. I mean, the black car was.
There'll be another
the
black
giant
car.
buzzkill,
Needs to be
but
an asterisk.
otherwise really nice car.
I love your confidence that you're never going to own a black car.
He will definitely.
It's like, I'll
Right.
never drink again.
All right. So what's next?
right,
But it
next-
is happy hour today. 02 Saab 9.3
No
convertible.
regrets at all.
5-speed.
Zero regrets.
That's a kind of a cool car, though.
It was nice. It was like the last year, so it had like all the vegan stuff, the wheels and the seats and
cool
everything.
car for not a lot of money.
You said vegan? What's that?
That's
Vegan is like the model,
the
sports model.
the
VIGGEN.
Yeah, not vegan, which is how most people
Yeah.
pronounce it. But
But you
long did
you
you
also
own that
bought that
for?
car for a song.
yeah, I bought it for a song, and somebody loved it when it went up on Bring a Trailer. So it had a very happy ending, happy buyer.
They
happy
loved it.
seller.
It was only sold for $13,000.
That's
Well,
actually really good for.
That's really good
one
for
of those
that.
cars.
It was a 5-speed, which is fairly rare.
That's. I mean,
I would not pay over 10 for
I was
that.
about to
That's
say-
because I'm not really. I don't. That's not my kind of car.
I have to say that car had absolutely the worst torque steer imaginable.
but
I mean,
that was the characteristic of that car,
Right.
When you're mid turn and you hit it and the boost kicks in,
right, exactly. I mean, that was
Yeah.
if that's your idea of fun, then this is your car.
That was also a very striking color too. It was
Yeah.
almost like Guards red.
Yeah, it's Guards red with black.
It's
everything.
a comfortable cruiser.
Yeah, it had 40,000 miles on it or something. I mean,
How long
was
did you
like,
have it?
Like a year and a half. I had it for. I mean, for me, that's a
pretty
good
long.
while.
All right, then you went back. Let's see. I guess it's the chrono. Before that, you had an 02.
Oh yeah, all right.
996
All right.
six-speed
Can we
turbo?
not talk about this?
35
Can we
grand.
just
What a
not-
sucker!
Is this
I
the
know,
one that you
I know.
did the,
Sucker.
Is
I
this the
know.
one you did the article?
I know. So I
in,
paid 32 for it, and I got 35 for
And
it
you
after
were
spending $5,000 in maintenance on it.
Is this the one you did the article in Canada? You drove
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Canada?
Yes.
Nathan Mers and I drove the thing to Quebec City.
and a YouTube video which Nathan stars in, which still relevant today if you want to find out about 996 Turbo and actually see it being driven on some pretty rough roads, middle of winter, and on snow.
And and you had like summer tires, if I remember correctly.
yeah,
You
we
Did he?
Yeah, I think.
I don't think we were trying to bring attention to that fact, but
Which I think, can we
Whoops.
not mention that? Because I mean, technically, that is a violation of the law in the province of Quebec.
oh, it's
it's too-
2019.
too
right?
late.
And I
now,
don't think
too
the
late.
statute of limitations is run on that.
Yeah,
but
that-
yeah.
But you made it through everything. That's
Everything.
what's amazing
And
about that
we
car.
drove it on like
Like a
packed
snowmobile
snowpack,
yeah.
like area.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
there's video of the thing on like a snowmobile path or something. I mean, it was the
35
car was amazing.
grand. That
Yeah,
car,
all right.
that car today is how much now, guys?
Probably 40, 50?
Oh, no,
probably
way
like
more than
60.
that.
60?
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean that car had a lot of miles on it. When I sold it, it had like 88,000 miles on it. But even
Oh,
with
that's
those
Wait a
miles,
minute. In less than 5 minutes, you said relatively low miles with 75,000, and you jump 5,000 miles and say it had a lot of miles at 80,000
Well,
miles. What is
the
low miles and what's high miles?
968 is a 30-plus-year-old car, so under 100,000 miles for a 30-plus-year-old car is relatively low. This, on the other hand, is still kind of a late-model used car. So having close to 100,000 miles is considered
So when
high
you
miles in
describe
that world.
yourself, you say I'm middle-aged. You don't say I'm old.
Of course. No. He doesn't. He definitely says middle age.
Yeah,
He's definitely
But
middle-aged.
No, I mean, that was.
So why'd you sell that one? To buy the Saab?
No, I sold that one and I bought that Guards Red 997.2 6-speed
Base Carrera.
That
was
coupe.
a nice car.
Oh, I don't
very
remember
nice car.
that car. You had that car. Oh yeah,
I love that car.
So-
That
Yeah,
one.
That's the car with the.
This isn't all the cars you own, but this is so far that was a
Bring
big
it
trailer.
yeah.
So before that, the next one you sold before the turbo, because we're going back kind of backwards, is the 99
That was a-
996.
that was nice.
That was a
speed.
nice car.
You picked that up
yeah.
for less than 15
and he
grand.
sold it
Right.
in 2018 for $20,000.
Right. Okay.
Which was probably good money
All right,
for that.
I do not have.
Who thought of this game?
I
love
do not
this game.
have.
I love
a
this game.
Frigging crystal ball. Okay, that is apparent.
It's
from
not
this.
like 99 isn't the most desirable year. or
I'm
anything.
buying
No,
lunch
no,
for
no, and
whoever
it's-
thought of this game.
And it's an early '99. It's got the amber.
That car was
signals.
like mint. I
Right,
remember when
Did
you
it have
picked
the
it up.
arrow
with,
kit or
with
the-
like a phone book of records going back to new. It was sold at the Porsche dealer in Marin. I mean, the thing had never been out of the driest part of Northern California in its life. It was fantastic, and I
Is that
bought it
black?
literally
Black, yeah, black on black.
right after I took this job in 2017 in Monterey. I just went on Craigslist, and there it was. The asking price was like 17, and I wound up paying $16,250 for the car, and
like-
drove
it's like my
it back
Cayman.
to the Hampton Inn in Salinas and cleaned it up and drove it for instead of a rental car for Monterey Car Week. It was a phenomenal car. It lives in Traverse City, Michigan. The guy who bought it.
Oh,
from
really?
me. Yeah.
Okay.
And I see it from time to time, and it's still absolutely perfect. But I mean, I remember taking a paint meter to the car. It.
You could tell. You just could tell looking
Yeah.
at that car that it was so stock.
It's a
Yeah,
so
$35,000
clean.
car
Like
now.
zero options.
Zero
it had
options.
17s, but somebody for whatever reason decided they had to have the aluminum gauge faces and shift knob and handbrake knob, and that's it. Those are the only options the car had.
Man, so this listing is just the cars you sold on BAT. There's more.
Yeah, of course.
But wait, there's more.
There's
So-
more.
Do
we have to?
Now you go back to British before that. And now we're in 2017, the 72 Lotus Elan plus 2, the very desirable body style.
Well, it's actually better looking than the Roadster.
I don't
The-
get
I
that
don't
car.
think so.
I don't get that car. I don't know.
So how long did you... Well, I know you have an affinity for British cars, especially fairly obscure
No,
British
thanks for
cars.
outing me on that. That's yeah.
I think I saw...
Me and Ron.
you know what I saw
Gordon
was an
had,
Elite at Cars and Coffee last weekend.
Elite.
like an original Elite.
Yes.
Yeah, those are really pretty.
that has the
and
back
those are really
seat, right?
valuable. No, like the '70s Elite.
Yeah.
Those are hideous. The one that looks like a
Pickup truck?
shooting brake, like a station wagon.
Maybe it wasn't at least. It looked like... Anyways, so you got that. You had that for how long?
Like a year and a half.
And you put, what, 100 miles on it?
No, I drove that thing from Ann Arbor to Detroit a number of times on my daily commute.
I'll
which
give
was
that to
insane.
Rob. Rob drives his cars.
Yeah.
And he has he'll drive to Amelia with not even servicing the car.
Now, I
Just gets
remember
in and
you
goes.
in the convertible at Amelia Island.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I
The
drove that to
BMW, it's a
Amelia.
BMW M3 convertible. What's the car yellow? Is that what that is?
Dakar yellow with a 5-speed and Dove gray Vader like sport seats.
Were you, Manny? Were you in the car with us when we were coming home from?
I hit
from-
the possum.
No.
The possum.
Yeah. Took out a fog light.
took out a fog light. We just heard this ka-dunk. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, what was that?
It was on that like the causeway, that bridge
Yeah.
leaving Amelia Island, and
That was a cool
To
one.
my credit, I tried to avoid the possum, but
Yeah. You
How
took
long
a-
did you have the BMW for?
that was over 2 years.
So then,
that was-
before then, you had the so we have the Ferrari 308
Yeah,
in blue, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Quattro 83.
yeah. All right,
That's one of the more desirable years, right?
80.
Because like the 80 81s are not so
No,
desirable.
they're the 2-valve injected
But the
cars.
quattro
are not.
valve,
The
it
4-valve
was,
injected cars are. 83, unfortunately, is the year before Ferrari galvanized the bodies,
Oh.
and it was like a game of whack-a-mole.
That was a factory color, that blue.
Yeah, blue Sarah.
That's got to be rare too.
Is that car fun to drive?
It is.
Is it?
It
Okay.
really is. I mean, it's a lot better than you would think. It's not very fast. It's it's like a 3.2 Carrera. I mean, there were competitors back in the day. The gated shifter, once the gearbox oil is warm, is really fun to use. It makes good noise. It's not built that badly, and it was very reliable. So I had it 4 years, which is an eternity for me.
How much did you sell for?
65, I think.
65.
Yeah, which
okay.
don't price them today. That car had 21,000
Yeah.
original miles on it when I sold
How
it.
much
Well,
are
that's
they?
almost
How much
ready
were
for
they?
a rebuild then, right?
No, honestly, I mean that is a typical, thing.
All
that
Ferraris are
Porsche
low
would say.
miles.
The top ends of those cars are good for 100,000 miles, before they need a top end, and the bottom ends are unbreakable. So,
But Ferrari people are very sensitive to mileage. If you had
They
100
are.
if you have 100,000 mile Ferrari, a
They
lot
don't-
of them they don't even want to look at
They
it.
don't brag like Porsche owners brag
Yeah.
about
well,
hitting 200,000
Keith
miles.
Martin had a 200,000 mile 308 GT4 that was beautiful and sold really well. Sean Dugan at Hyman Limited had a 100,000 mile 308. That drove beautifully. It's like Ferrari people are even crazier than Porsche people about miles, but for no good reason. I mean, the 21,000 miles that car had was unremarkable. That was
really?
No,
that was
it's
just
not,
kind of meh.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was not stupid low miles.
I wonder if at what point in his life they disconnect the odometer for a while.
No one ever does that, Manny.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do think that, like everything else, the odometers on those cars, have a nylon gear in them.
Yeah.
That,
Don't reset them while you're moving.
Right, exactly. But all the receipts and everything's indicated that.
So that one, did you regret selling?
Yeah, hugely. I still
Really?
do to this day.
Even though it's a rust bucket?
It wasn't a rust bucket. It was just one of those things where every spring, when you take it out of storage, there'd be a tiny bubble somewhere that you'd have to go and taken care of and everything else. I mean, it wasn't a rusty car. It was just, you had that annoyance of, is that a bubble there? Yes, it is. That kind of thing that you never have to worry about with like a 911 SC.
The next car is cool. E30 Cabriolet manual, white,
Yeah.
325i. 15.5. I think that's good money for that car.
Are you reliving your yuppie days when you got
It
that,
was.
or-
No, I was.
I'm going to call you Blaine. Remember Blaine from Pretty in
I
Pink?
remember those cars. That's what people drove to high school. They would
Yeah.
find an
Blaine.
old E30.
That's what Blaine drove in
3,000.
Pretty in
Yeah.
Pink.
In Southern California, even in 2016, because I remember in 2014, E30s totally different sort of ball game because
Yeah.
you saw them everywhere.
Yeah.
If you paid over 10 grand in 2016 for an E30, probably too much, unless it was like an M3.
That was a silly. That was white with cardinal red. It had sport seats. It was a 5-speed, manual top. E30. It was not. It was still a year with the diving board bumpers, which was kind of the knock on it. But it was a 45,000 mile, absolutely perfect car. It was, truth be told, it was too nice for me.
Oh, very
So
nice.
what year did you start at PCA?
2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Dakar.
I like how you
M3
hit all
was,
these cars from your resume. Otherwise, we might have thought differently.
We didn't know about that.
Gee, Manny, what did you drive today? A BMW.
Well, at
And
least
then
it's not a 1968 MGC
GT.
GT 4-speed with overdrive.
Yeah, I need Ron Gordon here.
Oh, God.
For
So how
support on
much
this.
did that car run?
All the time. I mean,
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, frighteningly, that was the third MGC that I've owned.
Really?
And they made like 2,000 of them. So, I mean, I've
Wow.
owned like,
I gotta
half
say,
of
I
1% of
love the design of that car. I like that shape is very classic to me.
it is. It's got, like not one but two hood bulges. It's hysterical, typical British fashion. They made this giant hood bulge in the center of the hood of the car to clear the 6-cylinder engine that was there in place of the 4-cylinder MGB engine. And then they realized that the carburetor still won't clear. So there's like a little teardrop shaped bulge inside of the giant bulge to clear the carburetors. It's
Double bubble.
hysterical. Yeah, exactly.
Double
it's
bubble.
ridiculous.
So since those were the hardtop version of the
Yeah.
MGB,
Yes.
did it not leak?
It did not leak.
Oh, well, that's
It
good.
did not. Well, I mean, it leaked. Just not
It leaked
inside.
oil.
the
Not
oil.
where the converter-
That's
guarantee
fluid.
Yeah,
I'm talking
just
about
not inside the car.
rainwater inside.
Yeah,
No
it
sunroof?
leaked.
Be specific here.
Yeah, it leaked plenty outside.
No
the
sunroof, slick top car.
car. Yeah, no sunroof. If
I don't
it
think
had
they
had,
made sunroofs, did they
they
for that?
did. You
They
could.
did?
It was I think it was a dealer thing, but it was
Oh.
those big cloth sliding things.
Oh, yeah,
Those
yeah.
are.
Yeah, that
What
leaked.
did they
Yeah.
call those? Not rag tops. I mean, I know they call them
Ragtop.
rag tops, but they're
well,
also
Basto was the company that
Yeah,
made
yeah, yeah.
them, and
The company made the heaters and made the
yeah,
sunroofs? too?
yeah,
That's
exactly.
funny.
Yeah, and they're super nice to have. But it was, believe it or not, it was a good car with overdrive. That thing would cruise on the highway at 85 all day long, and I'm not going to go here, but drive one of those and drive a 356C coupe.
Oh no, you
I'm just-
didn't. Oh no,
I
you
didn't go
didn't.
there. I didn't. I
Oh,
did
no,
not
you
say
didn't.
anything. I'm just saying.
Oh no, you didn't.
I'm
So
just
you
saying.
can appreciate how high end the 356 was, right?
The 356
Yeah, I don't
has to
think
be
that's
way
where he's
more
going.
solid, way more solid than an
Are you just
MGC.
gonna like you just step in on your cred and just go smushing it even
No,
more.
I didn't say anything. I did not finish the sentence.
People are gonna start
He's
sending.
telling people to go make their own informed decisions
Exactly.
about the cars.
People are gonna start sending their resumes to us.
Yeah.
But for those of us that can't pick up a MGC GT at Hertz
Yeah.
and test drive it, which one do you like better?
Oh no!
I'm not
You
going
did-
there,
he's
Manny.
not
I
gonna-
will
That
say,
means that means,
all
that
I will
means
say,
you like the MG
No,
better.
no. All I will say is
We love them all.
It doesn't have the build quality of a 356.
Right.
I mean, let's face it.
But what
a
about the ride
356
quality,
costs
or the
twice as much.
handling?
They're not great handlers. They have a lot of weight. They took out this little
All right.
force.
What about acceleration, then?
The acceleration is good. It's 150 horsepower.
So that's more than
Oh, that's
Yeah.
more than
56.
56.
Yeah, it's 150 horsepower.
Yeah.
And it will.
What
It's a
about brakes or
legit
drum brakes?
120 mile an hour car. No,
So-
it's discs in front, drums in the rear.
So is it more of like a muscle car compared to a 356 because it has the power but it can't do anything else?
I mean, people compare it to like a cheap E-Type or something like that. I mean, it's it sounds good because it's got a straight six, like a 3-liter straight six.
That's a big motor for that car.
It is, and a heavy motor, which is the knock on the
What
car.
did the
They
four cylinders
understeer
have? Like
terribly.
1 point what?
They're 1.8 and I think 96 horsepower. So
Wow,
this
that
is
was a big jump.
a giant jump. The knock on them was the steering was heavier, which it was. They dialed in, like another turn lock to lock, so it wasn't as quick. Steering wise is a B, but it's a good cruiser. I mean, it literally will, go 85 down the highway at 3,000 RPMs all day long.
Well, thank you, Rob, for playing today's game.
Yeah.
And thank you, Manny. Did you come up with this? Who came up with this?
Yeah, I thought we should have it on the show because it was.
All right, I owe you lunch because
funny.
that was pretty funny.
Yeah, not for you guys. It wasn't for me. The $35,000 996
Next
twin
time
turbo
next
sale.
time we're gonna break into all your
That's-
girlfriends.
Yeah, that's
You break it up with.
friggin' hysterical.
All right, let's move on. Actually, before we move on, be sure if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We definitely appreciate all your support there. Videos, we dropped a couple of videos, and of course we talked about the podcast, but the most recent video is the red 911 SC. Yeah.
So that is a regular viewer, Paul Gentili, and you've probably seen him on Tech Tactics Live commenting. You've seen his car in a past Tech Tactics Live, and you'll see his car again
Tonight.
on this Wednesday's today's Tech Tactics Live,
Yep.
which will be
With Nathan talking
published
about.
by the time you hear this.
Yep.
So
We'll be on with Nathan talking about 911 SCs, almost like a buyer's guide.
yeah, exactly. So I drove it. It's an 83 last model year. I want to get a couple things out of the way. No, SCs do not have non-power brakes. I made a mistake. It felt like a pretty stiff pedal, and you know what? I didn't do my homework on that. So thanks for pointing that out. It does not have non-power brakes. They are vacuum boosted. So let's get that out of the way.
Barely
Yeah.
boosted. I mean,
Yeah, it's still
Wow.
it's not like a modern car.
because I didn't know it either. I
Yeah.
thought it was mechanical brakes like that. It felt like the
Yeah,
914.
it was 76 or 77 was the last mechanical brake setup in 911, as I think people pointed out. Also, 911 SEs in the U.S. were 180 horsepower, DIN horsepower for every single model year. So there's been some people who have said, but it
I've seen
had
172
180.
reported.
Well, that's SAE horsepower, I believe.
Okay.
So 180 DIN horsepower, 175 pound-feet of torque for the first 2 model years, I believe. And then I believe it's either 80 or 81 where it went up to 189 pound-feet of torque. So I know there's a lot of misinformation. I was double-checking myself because there were some comments about it on the video. But 180 for U.S. spec models. Europeans and rest of the world got the horsepower increases along the way. So with that out of the way, really nice car. I've driven another 911 SC. I believe it was an 81 or an 82, and then also that one that I rented through Haggerty, which was an 81 or an 82. This one drove a lot better than
It's
either
a
of
really
the ones.
nice car.
Yeah,
Here's
this one drove a lot better.
The question that I have for the experts, the early cars, like 78s and 79s, have an air pump, and the later ones don't. And I'm wondering why that is. What changed? I think if anything, emission laws got stricter.
Was
They
it
had
the
same-
oxygen sensor?
No, they out of the box, I think they had Bosch, oxygen sensors and CIS. So I don't.
better catalyst.
I don't good. Yeah,
Better catalyst?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've owned
So
ASEs.
that car has a 915 transmission, right?
It does 915, just
And
like Carreras did
have
later.
you driven a G50? How did it?
I have, yeah. 915s I've driven, so like the rental car, 911 SE, not great. This one was good, but you have to get used. For me, pulling away is fine. It's shifting. I have to slow down.
Yeah.
And what is a regular shift in my Cayman is too quick.
Yeah.
For a 915,
Right.
At least the one I drove. I've driven some with a Wevo shifter that makes it. I feel like it makes it a little bit easier to shift a little more quickly and more the way I do it. But G50s are easier. You don't have to think about it as much.
You can
Or at
actually
least I
beat
don't
the
have to.
synchro mesh in
Yeah,
a,
the synchro
in a
mesh.
915. But and I'm not going to get into the 915 versus
I'm not going to make
G50
you say which one's better or not.
debate,
They're
man,
different.
because we've had this argument.
And I've driven very well set up 915
Yeah,
transmissions.
I mean, to me, I think it's in a lot of it is in whoever had their hands on it last, because I think those shift rods, having those properly adjusted makes a big difference with the way.
Yeah. And I'm sure
the shift
Nathan's going to
quality.
go over because Nathan is very attuned to this, and I think he actually went through it in his Carrera 3.2 video a couple years ago. But a well set up 915 is likely just as good, if not better, than a G50, which doesn't. It won't change. The G50, I guess, what Nathan describes it as is it doesn't change how it feels the more it wears, and then boom, you need to rebuild it or you need a new clutch. A 915 will let you know as it's wearing down over the years.
Ah, I see.
And it'll get a little worse and a little worse, and so I'm sure he'll cover that again on tonight. So
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like a 915 with 200,000 miles on it, you're exactly right. I mean, the synchros get weak and the shift quality deteriorates and everything else. But I mean, it's still serviceable. I mean,
yeah,
double
still serviceable.
clutch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, 911 SE, it's getting back to this car, really nice car. It very refined suspension. So if you have a well set up 911 SE, it feels really compliant. And this one came with the sport shocks. So even with sport shocks, it felt really nice, compliant ride. Fairly sporty. It's nearly stock. So the handling isn't going to be like an autocrosser on the nose. You really have to. You can feel what the front end is doing, and that's
Yeah,
either
set the front
understeering
end.
a little.
Yeah.
You have to set the front end in
Yeah.
a car like this. So very different kind of drive.
All right, let's jump into the news. First one up is quarter one sales. They are doing very well, making.
It'll be interesting to see what quarter two and quarter
Yeah.
three bring, because you see that note from UPS where they're anticipating, or they're going to be basically announced they're going to be shipping less packages than before, and their stock actually went down upon this announcement. Where they have shipped, I know I'm butchering up this news, but UPS is a barometer of how many packages for the overall.
it was like a leading
US
indicator,
economy.
like a leading indicator of
Robert just
recession. Or,
whispered 7% drop. So,
so
and
I mean, are they touting that as like a leading indicator of recession or what?
basically the economy slowing down.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
all saw that coming.
but Porsche did post a record quarter one sales. I would thank you that helped with China, which is still the biggest market for Porsche. And if you've read other articles, like their EVs, they didn't meet expectations, and it wasn't because of sales; it's supply.
Supply, yeah.
They can't get the parts to manufacture these cars, so people want to buy them, but they just can't manufacture them. So,
If you want the full explanation, or the best one I've heard, I would go back and listen to episode 59, because I believe Boris
went over
covered
it, yeah.
that.
Yeah, and it
really
takes
well.
1 week link in the chain, right? That kind of limits the ability to produce the number of cars that you really want, because you're relying on someone else. While I was away, the exhibit at the Peterson opened up, and you guys did some amazing posts there. It looks like
Thank you,
cool,
Bogdan.
cool representation.
Yep.
And I think Mr. Scholar's photo, and we had we did have a reporter on site, and that story's coming to us in the next couple of days, and we'll share it with you next week.
So, and Panorama has a story on that in the works too.
Cool.
And that's called We Are Porsche, I believe, and it's open for most of the year,
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay.
So,
I watched this video on YouTube. I'm not going to say which one it is because I don't want to subject you to watching this.
Okay.
But it was a quote unquote influencer.
Oh boy.
And he must have had access to the Peterson before it opened, or something along those ways. Anyways, this guy, oh my God, I don't think he knew one iota about Porsche.
Oh no.
And he just butchered up every single fact. And of course, he got slammed in the comments.
You know, that's how you get engagement, right? We just get all of our facts wrong, and then we'll have a ton of comments all of a sudden,
and he's
right?
like, "Oh yeah, I'm not really a Porsche guy. Yeah, thanks for telling me this." That was his response to everything that people were telling him. He was completely off about this, off about that, and
I don't think
how
people
hard
realize
is it to read the placard in front of the car and get
or just
that.
do
I mean,
a
that's
little
really,
bit of homework. I mean,
Right.
No,
I
but
mean-
but they don't want to be there for the full day. They just want to come in and out. So how can you read the placard?
I guess. I mean, I'm never gonna slam somebody who's not a subject matter expert because it's,
Right.
But I mean.
You gotta
that's
do a
just
little
lazy.
homework.
Yeah, do a little homework.
little
I mean, when there's a
homework.
placard in front of the car that you can read, come on.
And but you say it with such confidence when they're talking about the car that you wouldn't know any better. You would think, oh, that's what he's saying is legit. And of course, knowing what it's saying is wrong, you're like cringing because you're like, yep, he got that wrong. He got that wrong.
In their defense, I don't think people who aren't Porsche people and really plugged in, who make commentary about Porsche and the Porsche culture, I don't think they realize what they're stepping into.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? I get things wrong, and I know a lot
Just the
about
consequences
Porsche,
of being wrong.
Yeah.
And
Oh
how
my
many
gosh.
people will call you out?
How many people will call you out? Exactly.
Yeah,
People
exactly.
will call you out.
But my friends at Cars and Coffee start talking about guns. I don't know anything about guns. So I immediately just sit there and listen because I cannot contribute one thing.
First thing you say, and they're swatting you down.
I'm like,
Right.
I've got some at home that I've inherited, but that's about it.
Yep, exactly.
We last time I had seen they had talked about the new Cayenne interior, but then the exterior, the whole car came out while I was away, and looks pretty good.
I'm gonna see next week.
Yeah.
the interior.
So while we were at Spa, one of the instructors took 3 of us out in a Cayenne GT. Obviously, not the latest iteration that you're looking at on the screen
in a
here.
Turbo GT.
In a Turbo GT.
Oh yeah.
My goodness. That car or that vehicle thinks it's a sports car.
Let's talk about that for
That
1
thing
second.
was amazing on track.
Damon just wrote an article for the magazine on that, and obviously at this point, with the new Cayenne, we don't know. There has not been a successor announced to that car, of course, and we don't know if there will be.
There
another
will
one.
be. There has to be.
I hope
It'll probably
so.
be electric. The
but
successor, right?
That is unquestionably, I obviously none of us have driven a Ferrari Purosangue, but to me, that's the greatest sporting SUV that anybody has
It's
ever.
the best sporting SUV. It still has the fastest Nürburgring time.
I mean, I wish they could have called it a GT5.
I will be honest with you. Like, I didn't get that car until it came here to the office and we drove it.
I don't
And
get
then-
it. I would get it if I made what $2 million a year or something, right? And
No,
had
but
like
I
3
mean,
other Porsches, which is what I
That
wrote.
car was obviously I only got a ride at Spa. I didn't drive Spa, but some of the turns and the hills and this guy was all over the curbs and he was going sideways in it. And I'm going, an average GT3 RS driver would get blown away by this guy in a Cayenne. I mean, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And he was like talking to us through each
and
corner.
driving with one hand. And I know
crazy.
the same thing. I
Such a
was
capable
on
car.
the new West track at the Experience Center in Atlanta with
Yeah.
one of the instructors in a Cayenne Turbo GT, and same thing. It's like the guy is going twice as fast as I just was in a GT3, holding the wheel with one hand and carrying on a conversation with people in the
they're
passenger
amazing.
seat in the back. It was nuts.
Next up, we have a race coming up this weekend, right? And what's this LMDH article? I didn't click on that one, so you have to update.
You never
me now.
click on them.
I clicked on the first 3.
That is the Tom Brady car.
That's going to make its debut. So for those of you at Sebring, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, this car was already at Sebring. The livery was at Sebring, but the car was on an Orica chassis. This is the first time they're going to have the 963, and they're going to be running in LMDH, not the LMP2. And like Damon said, it's going to be it's the Tom Brady Singer Jota.
Hertz, I believe, is the
Hertz
other one, right?
sponsor, and the Hertz Gold. They're I think they just got the livery of the car on about 3 days ago from when we're recording this podcast. Them and what's JMC out of Minnesota, which will be the IMSA customer car, and I think that's debuting at Laguna Seca. So they got
JDC Miller.
JDC, that's what it is. They got both of them received their cars in Wysock and got some shakedown laps. I think Matt Campbell was the driver, showing them the car and whatnot. So that's going to basically first time on the track is going to be Spa. By the time you listen to this, it'll be over, so you'll know how they did. But it's good that Porsche's delivering their customer cars as expected on schedule.
Yeah, that is a beautiful car.
I read somewhere, this was a weird fact, but I guess I understand. Before Porsche hands off a 963 to a team like Jota, they're able to shake it down before, and make sure everything's working. According to the rules with IMSA or these
1 hour.
1 hour only, you can only shake it down. The manufacturer can only shake it down for 1 hour before they hand it out, and that's a rule. So hopefully they ironed out everything in that hour, right?
It's like not much better than a 1 mile review.
Yeah, I know.
Seriously, that's crazy.
Yeah. Hopefully, and of course, Porsche is still searching for their first win with WEC, which is going to be very tough with the Toyotas that are so dialed in, and then the Ferrari hypercar. But yeah, we'll see. The next race for IMSA is Laguna Seca. So hopefully, after the win at Long Beach, they'll have some the same luck at Laguna. Although it was luck, it was luck that that the Acura crashed, and with luck that their stint on one set of tires at Long Beach panned out and worked perfectly like the way they wanted it to. But looking back at the history of Porsche, and I've been writing these articles chronicling the Road to Rennsport. And they've had these issues with almost every car they come out with. I think
we were talking about it we were trying to calculate the time from introduction to first win. Like the 917 was a very long time.
The 917, there was like 3 races that was supposed to enter in, and the drivers basically said it's not going to work.
Give me a 908.
No. Don't run this car, and they had to withdraw the car. The 956 was the only one that it came out in Silverstone, won overall, and then never looked back. It was just a complete success from the beginning. But the other cars, they've had to work themselves out, and I think the 963 will get there. I don't know. The Le Mans, I think, will be a miracle, mainly because of the Toyotas, unless we can have another Toyota miracle
on the last lap.
Yeah,
I was there for that. That was 2016.
Yeah,
that was crazy. But at least we can all agree it is a very pretty car. It's probably the prettiest Porsche competition car since the 956.
The easy way to spot them is the headlights.
Yeah.
But they do all look the same. I can't argue that. But the headlights, the lights are horizontal, I guess, and everyone else is vertical.
Front end treatment.
Yeah.
And then can you get over that BMW and the quote unquote kidney grill on that on their LMDH?
They're going all the way in.
Yeah.
Man.
So going from a pretty car to a wild-looking car, and I'm glad I can talk about it now, is you guys saw the spy photos of the GT2 RS.
But this hasn't been announced, right?
I'm saying those are the spy photos.
Yeah. Well, you said you could talk about it.
I'm talking about the spy photos.
Those are pretty good spy photos.
We're speculating with their GT2
The funny
RS.
thing was
right?
there was like 4 different Porsches. This was the most exciting. You had the Cabriolet, the Targa, all spy photos at the Nürburgring. So I guess by the time they know they're going to test there, they can hide some stuff, but the spy photographers are waiting for. So the big question here is, of course, is the hybrid system they anticipate this car is going to have. Has that huge wing in the back.
I was going to say they solved the problem of the wing not being large enough.
This car is wicked.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's not hybrid. Because we've seen how fast the new GT3 RS is. All it needs is a bit more horsepower to punch through in the longer straights. And if we're going to have 700 plus horsepower in a GT2 RS...
So obviously this will be turbocharged.
Yeah.
Yep. It'll be exciting to... when it'll debut and what it can do.
I hope it's the last GT car that doesn't have an electric motor. If they're going to do, hybrid at some point with those... So we'll see.
Look at that wing in that shot.
Yeah.
Not for the timid. Not for the timid. All right, so let's get into the events. While I was away, Treffin, Georgia was conducting. I want to congratulate all the volunteers and all the attendees. Hopefully they had a great time. We've talked about the Princess Cruises Treffin at Sea, which will be on December 9th through 16th. Registration is open. We are, I believe, crested over 500 PCA members that will be on that cruise. And my number, I think we're gonna probably hit 1,000, and it's
Right.
gonna be a big party on that
And
cruise
this
boat.
is going to be my first cruise ever. I'm holding you
Yeah?
to. You said I'm going, so I'm planning on going. But yeah, I've never been on a cruise ship.
All right, and then let's see. We have Porsche Platz at Laguna Seca. When is that? I didn't see the date on that one. That's coming up. You guys remember?
Saturday, May 13th, and Sunday, May 14th. So, what, a few weeks?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another event that I saw on email was the 914 Special Interest Group gathering. That's kind of nearby, isn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, it's the week of parade, the end of parade. So, I won't
bummer.
be able to- You
Is
never
your
came to the other
914
ones.
going to be all together by then, Vu?
Huh?
Is your 914 going to be all together by then?
Negative, but it would be cool to see all of them together.
What
Especially if
state
it's
is
nearby.
it in right now?
Apart.
Denial, state of denial.
Let's just say apart. All right, we are running a little late, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the discussion
But anyways,
today.
for the
Anything else?
914, I want to give more of a plug.
Oh, okay.
That's your passing
Yeah.
mention about Vu's car. So for if you're a 914 owner or an enthusiast, I went to this event 2 or 3 years ago. Very well run. It's basically old school PCA type in the sense that it's just a bunch of 914 owners get together. They do some drives. They have, at least when I went, they had a cookout in the back of the part of the hotel. Just good camaraderie. We had lunch during one of the tours, some group photos. It was just an all-around good time. Luckily, we had great weather the weekend I went, so it was mainly top-down driving everywhere we went. But it was about, I'm going to say 30 or 40 914s.
Wow.
That's another car I regret selling, my Olympic Blue 914. And
Oh, that blue one, that was a cool one.
right, and I'll double regret. I sold it to a friend. I had it for 2 years. He sold it to somebody who lived in Florida and was out of town when Hurricane Ian happened.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah. So the last I saw of my Olympic Blue 914 was sitting in a Copart salvage auction. It had been underwater up to the seat backs, and it really
that's so
hurt me to
sad.
see that because I really liked that car, and
Hopefully someone picked it up and they'll put it back together.
I hope so. I really do. But that really upset me to see that.
It's like
Before
cars
we
like that
forget-
to make mine valuable.
Before
One
we
less
forget, though,
914.
the 914 event, it is June 23 through 25.
Yeah, I
Friday,
sent
Saturday,
Robert
Sunday.
an email, but I don't know if he got it or
Yeah,
not.
and
with
it's
the
in
flyer.
Tannersville, Pennsylvania. And if you head to pca.org and go to the connect and contact area, you'll see special interest registries or special interest groups.
Yeah.
You should find the website there or the Facebook group.
Very
Yeah, I'll
good.
have to ask him to list it in events because I didn't see it on
Yeah, I
our
didn't see it
events
there either.
page. But anyways, it's if you're interested in 914s or if you have one, you should be joining the 914 Special Interest Group. Good group of guys and girls who love 914s. And
Passionate folks.
At that point, you need help whenever a part or something goes wrong, and you want to. Nothing can go wrong with a 914 that hasn't already gone wrong.
Right.
And there's someone there who'll tell you how to fix it.
Right.
Very cool. I think at this time, Robert wants me to remind folks, if you haven't signed up for One E-Brake News, Performance News, Mark Fresh News, just head over to pca.org and you can sign up for all those newsletters. It's pretty easy. Anything else before we sign off, gentlemen?
Nope, think I'm
All good. Well, thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and you own a Porsche, grab that VIN, head over to pca.org, and we'll set you up for membership. If you're looking to buy a Porsche, we have the test drive program, again, at pca.org. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page to see behind-the-scenes photos, videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. Always message us if you feel like. Email us. We love reading the comments. You can send messages to podcast@pca.org. Stay in touch with everything that we're doing here. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.